After an awesome 3 weeks in South India, we're finally back home. And as the past 3 weeks has gone by so quickly, we thought we'd make a recap video of all of the highlights of our trip.
And the lowlights as well.
Yeah, there was a few of those too. We started our trip at Zurich Airport and we had 2 helmets, full riding gear and everything else that we could possibly need for the trip with us, so we weren't exactly travelling light on this one, but it was a really good 9-hour flight and yeah, it was great that we finally arrived in Mumbai.
Yeah, it was nice to see all those city lights as we finally landed, and then we went straight into the chaos.
Yeah, managed to grab our bags, wheel them out, and instantly we felt the heat of Mumbai hit us.
So the first thing we had to do was grab a SIM card for Sean because his phone isn't eSIM compatible, which was a little bit of a pain when it was already so late in Mumbai. I think we were already at 11 o'clock when we landed.
Yeah, that's right. I think I really need to upgrade my phone so I can have an eSIM. It would save a lot of time because, yeah, we're both exhausted. It was a late, I think, as you say, the flight landed about 11 o'clock, so it was pushing midnight. I was waiting in the queue to get the SIM cards as there was quite a few other people and only one desk. And I think when I actually got to the front of the queue, the process took about 30 minutes to an hour.
If not longer. They have to check the passport, check all of your details, your visa. But I had already downloaded an eSIM before we'd left in Switzerland. So as soon as I got off the plane, I just activated it from Holofly.
The system you're using is really impressive. Like, we've used that before with your phone, hasn't it? Crossing all the different borders. It's good that you can actually prepare it before you arrive as well, so you're ready to go.
Yeah, and you really need internet in India because we used it so often because you need to book the Uber rickshaws, to check the traffic reports because you never know, what's going to happen on the road. So it was really fantastic, and it doesn't just work in India, Holofly. It's got over 200 destinations.
Yeah, that's right. The Holofly eSIM, it works in about 200 destinations. So the other feature I quite like is you can actually share a hotspot with me. But just in case we got separated, I thought I would grab the physical one too. But it's such a pain. We're going to have to get an eSIM next time, I think.
But the whole of India has amazing signal. When we were in the in the tropical places, in the coffee plantations, the jungles, we had signal the whole way through with Holofly, so that was pretty fantastic service from them. And we also have a discount code, so if you use the discount code Sean and Emily, you'll get 5% off, and you can click the little card in the corner. We then had to try and find an Uber out of Mumbai airport.
Yeah, and I think you actually booked the Uber while I was still faffing about with the card, wasn't it? Because it took ages to arrive, and there is actually a stand where you go and get your Uber from Mumbai airport.
It is set up well, but it's just the sheer volume of people and the sheer volume of cars.
There must have been hundreds. There was hundreds of cars coming in from every which direction, people with luggage and bags all trying to fight, and every single Uber looked identical. You had to read the tiny number on it, but we got one in the end, didn't we?
Yeah, but by the time we got to the hotel, it was 2 a.m. And we had been traveling for basically 12, 13 hours in total, so we were exhausted, and we had a tour booked for Mumbai the very next day, 7 a.m.
Yeah, something
we were so ambitious.
Oh, yeah. And the most frustrating thing is we're there in the reception of the hotel at, 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And they had to copy your visa, your passport, and even the check-in process took half an hour. But we did eventually get to sleep. So we got up bright and early for the tour, and we headed straight to the Gate of India.
Yeah, the perfect place to start a tour of not only India, but of Mumbai. And it was packed.
There was, we struggled to get through there, didn't we?
You're winding your way through, all these people outside of you, all of the new smells, all of the new experiences, all in the first few hours of our trip.
The noise, the heat, the crowds, we're just immersed in it immediately.
It was intense.
Yeah, which is why when we went to the flower market afterwards, it was a little bit more peaceful.
Yeah.
And we quite liked that one, didn't we?
Yeah, it was really nice to see all of the markets that we did. We did quite a few, but the flower market was nice. And then we headed to the laundry place. What was that called?
Western Ghats, I think it was called.
That was fascinating.
It's one of the must-see places in Mumbai, and for good reasons too. It was really impressive to see all the people. I think there's 7,000 workers there washing clothes, linen, things from hotels, all by hand, hanging it up there, and you can, there's actually a viewing platform there where you can see it all from.
Yeah, that was a really cool point, something that you never thought you'd see.
It was, wasn't it? And that took us up to lunchtime, I think, was it?
Yes, and when we got to try our first of many, many Indian foods that we tried, but we had a traditional thali, and it was one of my favourite meals of the entire time we were in India, actually, that thali.
You just got like a bit of everything, so you could find out what you liked straight away. And we pretty much liked everything on that plate. It was great.
We were trying everything. At that point in the tour, we were being the most adventurous that we could be. We weren't saying no to anything. And then after that wonderful lunch, we headed into Zawari.
We did, but before that, we stopped by at the temple, wasn't it? Like the pool of water.
I forgot about that.
Was it the Banganga temple? It was smack in the city centre. There was little temples there, and like a really serene water part, wasn't it, where people were just sitting and enjoying.
Some people were jumping in. There was a kid jumped in, wasn't it?
There was, yeah.
That was a really interesting little spot. I'd kind of forgotten about that.
Yeah, we wouldn't have found that one without the tour,
No.
so I'm glad he took us there.
And then we headed over to Davari, which is kind of a city within a city.
Yeah, what an interesting place that is. We'd seen some programs on it before, but when you get there and you see like all of the workshops working together, they're like recycling plastic, they're making soap, making leather goods, they were doing everything there. It was really interesting to see.
Yeah, it's such a unique experience. It's kind of hard to explain it unless you were there. You know, walking through some of the streets, they were so tight.
There were,
there was a building here and a building here, and you're kind of weaving your way through, and everyone was so friendly, waving.
Yeah, there was a real good community feel to the area, and our guide grew up there as well, so he knew a lot of the people there. He was saying hello to people wherever he went. It was really good.
It was a great experience, and I'm really glad we did it, and I'm also really glad we did it with a guide. I wouldn't have done it without the guide, because you could have got lost in there so quickly.
Yeah, for sure.
And then where did we head next?
Well, it was coming late afternoon by the time we got out of there, so I think we did our first tuk-tuk ride.
Oh, yes, we did. There was 3 of us in the back seat,
yeah, that's right. Tuk-tuk ride. Oh, rickshaws.
Rickshaw.
I kept on calling them tuk-tuk.
I did too.
Rickshaws in India. The rickshaw ride was so much fun.
Every time, every single time.
In and out of the city. Good way to see the city, actually, is just to take a rickshaw anywhere and you get to see lots.
And then we got to the train station where we got to take the local train. Again, another incredible experience that we got to have. And we also did see the train station at some point as well from the outside, one of the main train stations. We went to another one for this train experience with the doors open, the wind flowing, and we made our way back into really like central Mumbai, didn't we?
Yeah, from that point I have no idea where we went, because he was taking us to all these different streets where we were having the street food in different places.
I love that. Pani puri we tried, pav bhaji, and quite a few other things. It all kind of blurred into one. Everything was so new, it was so intense, and we'd been awake for a lot of time at that point.
We had, absolutely, yeah.
But it was fantastic. It was the perfect tour of Mumbai, in my opinion, that we had. It was absolutely fantastic. And then after all of the street food, we headed to bed, really, knowing that we were going to have to pick the bike up at like 10 o'clock the next day.
And actually start the bike tour.
Yeah.
I was pretty eager to get up the next day, even though we were really tired, because we were picking up the bike and we weren't actually certain as to what bike we were going to get.
No, I can't believe we actually did that. We just went and was like, yeah, just give us whatever bike you've got. We both thought we were getting the 310.
I had a suspicion we were getting the 310, because the 310 is actually manufactured in India and is a really popular bike there. But I was very happy when the BMW R1250 GS, and it was actually one that was used in the Trophy Cup, was there waiting for us with the full panniers and everything, so we had no problem. Yeah,
and we had the warmest welcome from the Mumbai BMW team. It was like being at home. It was like being around family. It was so lovely.
Yeah, it really was. They got us more food while we were there, so we had lunch, we chatted, talked about different experiences and things.
And they kind of scared us a little bit with what we were about to do. We showed them the route. They were like, nope, no way you're going to be able to cover all of that in that amount of time. And we were like, no, we can do it. We were wrong.
Yeah, we were wrong. We found that out later on. But they sent us off really nicely. Yeah. It was actually sad to leave them.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't want to go, but at the same time, we did. And then again, we were thrown straight into city centre Mumbai traffic, and that was chaotic.
I think that was the biggest culture shock I've ever had in my life on like for roads. You can't explain how it works.
No,
it's so overwhelming, and everyone's going to do something different. And you were just like, okay, let's go. And I think we had like 400 kilometers planned on the first
Yeah, we thought
day.
we very like thought we would get 400, but I think we only got like 120 done, didn't we, on that day?
Far.
But the thing is, when you do a normal trip, you leave from home, you gradually adjust to the different riding styles of the countries you're getting. But when you fly to the other side of the world, you're just dropped there, aren't you? And you immediately just have to get on with it. But
and we went from roads here where you can't do anything wrong or face the biggest fine and possible imprisonment to no rules, survive as best you can, and that was it. But you did amazing. And we headed straight on the motorway towards the Rock Hill Resort. So it was kind of a baptism of fire straight in. Also, we didn't book any hotels before. It's always the way we travel, it's the same style. So we applied that in India. And it worked for the whole trip, really.
It did, didn't it? Because if we had booked, we'd have
lost
booked something
money
quite far away, and with the kilometres that we could do that day, we found that Rock Hill Adventures, I think, an hour or so before we decided to stop. We accidentally rode in the night time as well.
It was barely 20 kilometres in the dark. It wasn't too far. And then we arrived, and that hotel was fantastic. We had great food that night. We had the cabin, it was air conditioned, and we kind of started to settle in a little bit more. And then the next day was when the real trip really started.
It did, yeah. And it started with an Indian breakfast.
Curry at 7 a.m.
Curry, or like, they call it gravy, I think, don't they? But it is basically like a more thinner consistency.
Rotis.
With the roti.
Oh, the dosa. It was a dosa.
Dosa as well,
yeah. We had, and black coffee, and then we were just sent on our way. So it was, that was all within 48 hours of being in India.
Yeah. And we went straight to a place that we had pinned when we were back home, whether we'd researched that, which was the Kumbh Tunnel.
Yeah, that was awesome. Again, that was another one that I just found online and was like, that looks awesome, we should head up that way. Didn't quite realise how rural and remote that was.
Yeah, it really was. The roads, I think, were being rebuilt, a lot of it as well. So there was some cool gravel tracks and things. There was a waterfall there as well, which is the Kumbh waterfall. But it's really best to see that in monsoon season, because it was barely a trickle while we were there.
Yeah.
But I'd rather take that than riding in monsoon season.
And then we had that tunnel experience, which wasn't that dramatic or dangerous
no, it wasn't
at all.
Was it?
But it was made more dramatic by the local that came out just before and was like, you shouldn't go in here, don't go in here.
Yeah, like
it's too dangerous. But we were completely fine. And then we had our first snake experience.
Yes, that was it, isn't it? Snake crossing the road. Got out of the way. Apparently it was just like a rat-eating snake. It's not poisonous or a cobra. I don't know why I stopped for that one, but I thought it was best to. But we carried on, and I think you got to see monkeys as well that day.
Yes, that was that kind of Ghat road, wasn't it? Almost where it was a bit of a balcony, and you could see all of this beautiful kind of. It was like lush forests all the way out towards the sea, and that's where we had my first monkey experience.
There was about 15 or 20 of them, wasn't there?
And the baby one.
You cried a little bit as well, didn't you? Yeah.
Much to everybody's shock in the comments. It's not normal for us to see monkeys on the road, and it was one of my favourite things about India.
I think it was a highlight, wasn't it? The nature, seeing the nature was amazing.
So that was quite a long second day when we headed into kind of one of the national park areas, and you didn't feel well that night.
No, I was feeling really rough that night, wasn't I?
And we'd hardly eaten that day because we're still getting into the swing of things. We drank a lot of water. We'd stopped at that really cute shop, remember? And all the locals had come round. And then we headed up the mountain towards that hotel that we'd found. I think it was called
Wild Berry Resort. Something like that,
and you weren't feeling very well at all. I was actually a little bit worried about you.
Yeah, I think the heat was getting to me a little bit. Maybe hadn't eaten enough that day either.
It definitely was that. And probably the change in food from Mumbai didn't help the situation.
For sure, yeah.
And we were both feeling maybe not 100%. So we had some like plain food that night. But that night, we didn't really talk about it too much. that night was horrendous in the room. It was like a bush tucker trial.
Yeah, there was a lot of bugs in the room because I think the light had been left on in the bathroom and it wasn't actually a window, they were like slats. So like the bathroom just filled up with bugs and stuff, and then they were in the main room. So there was a light on the very far part of the room, which I left that on overnight, and it seemed like the bugs just all flew over. They actually didn't get bitten at all that night.
No, we did well, but it wasn't the best night. And then we had that crazy zigzag, tiny single track road all the way around that Ghat in the mountains the next day. And it was like patchy gravel, you know, in the corners where
they were building it, weren't they?
Yeah, but it was amazing. We saw a kingfisher for the first time.
Yes, you did. Yeah, it was beautiful. Yeah.
And then we jumped back on the motorway, and we were kind of determined to head towards Goa at this point. So we kind of headed on the highway. Highway again was cows on it, mania. And that's when we also had that night ride, our first real motorway night ride towards the H hotels, like the Happy Hotel.
Something like that, yeah.
It was gorgeous. And we turned up, I was black on my face. We were disgusting. And we managed to have a hot shower, nice evening,
just have a couple of hours just to like think about all of the things you'd seen that day, because it was quite a fast-paced tour. And wherever you go in India, it's always exciting. There's always something to see. And yeah, you just don't know where to look.
You're constantly like on, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Excited. And we were about 200 kilometers away from Goa at that point. And we kind of had Goa fixation because everyone says like, I'll go to Goa, it's going to be amazing. So we woke up the next day and headed towards Goa. So kind of through the Western Ghats, and we had the nicest arrival. In Goa, we had that twisty road. Do you remember?
Yes. Yeah, I remember that.
Coming down, you could see the heat haze kind of between the sea and the mountains where we were up as we were heading down towards Goa, and grabbed a Coke, didn't we?
Ice cold, yeah. Ice cold Coke, yeah,
Met that really cute, those three boys on
the three of them on a scooter. Yeah, it was funny. Yeah.
Goa was a completely different vibe to what we've been having when we were riding through Maharashtra. It was a lot more chilled on the roads, which gave us both a bit of a break, but the heat was some of the most intense heat I've had ever in my life.
And I don't even think it was the hottest.
No, it wasn't.
I think it was like a winter for locals.
Yeah.
But for us, it was pretty hot, yeah.
It was really intense, but it was so beautiful. So we headed towards Panjim, which is kind of the capital, and towards some of the beaches that we'd read about and heard about online that were really nice. We found a good hotel, and then we decided to again ride the motorcycle to the beach.
Oh yeah, because that was that famous
Candlein Beach, and yeah, it wasn't what we were expecting. When you picture Goa, you see this untouched beach with nobody on it.
Like sunsets, open beaches. But that one was quite
packed.
The opposite. It was absolutely packed with people. And it had a very touristy vibe, but not the type of touristy vibe that people had like explained to us. But speaking to some of the locals, apparently it's really not how it used to be in that area.
Yes.
But there was still some really nice areas that you could go and find. Which we did in the days following, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. But it was a bit of a disappointment. I was really disappointed with that, because it was kind of the first taste of Goa. And you know, when you Google something here and it says go to this beach, you have this expectation it's going to be amazing, and it was just so busy and so packed. So we headed back to the hotel and headed off again the next day. And again, that was the beauty of us not booking any hotels for more than one night. We moved on quickly. And then I think this was one of my favourite days.
Yeah, we went through Old Goa in the morning, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. Well, no, we had breakfast in the morning.
Yeah, the breakfast.
Perfect coffee. Second best coffee we had in all of India. It was the perfect day for me. It was. And then we went for the ride through Old Goa, went past that beautiful old, I think it was a Christian church.
Yeah, the Portuguese cathedrals, I think it was. And we made our way to the Palolem Beach?
Palolem Beach. But we went through all of the kind of rural Goa, I guess, didn't we? That ride was really nice. Through the trees, quite calm, quite cool, collected, loads of monkeys on the road. And then you nearly fell off the bike.
No, not that. That was the next day, wasn't it?
Oh, it wasn't too bad, but...
No, that was the next day when we were leaving.
Oh, because we got hit that morning as well. The guy rolled back rolled
into it. It was a really bad hill start from the car in front of us, but we left a massive dint in his bumper. But the bike was fine on that one.
Yeah. But yeah, so that night we couldn't, you brought the bike down by the river, didn't you? And it was all sandy.
Yeah, there was a track, wasn't there? Yeah, the hotel didn't have like parking next to the cabins, so you had like a little 100-meter walk, which is fine, but when you've got the metal luggage and stuff, it's a bit too much to be hauling that down.
As well as we didn't want to leave the bike that far away
That's
from
true,
us.
Yeah.
So you rode the bike in, and we had probably the best night's hotel.
It was a beautiful
It was
place.
gorgeous.
Yeah, really nice location.
And I think it was like 35 or 40 euros.
It was a great price. And they were actually building a restaurant in that resort. So that should be finished probably in a few weeks, or at least maybe next season. And it'll be really good when that's finished.
And then we had our sunset swim, which was magical.
Oh yes, we did, didn't we? We went straight out to the beach, while the sun was going down.
And then we went to the avocado bar, which we frequented quite a lot. It was gorgeous there.
Oh yeah, the restaurant, wasn't it?
Amazing food. You had a curry, so did I, and you tried kingfisher for the first time.
First time in India.
In India.
Yeah.
Well, when in Rome.
Tasted much better.
And then that was kind of that day. For me, that was my favourite day on the road. I absolutely loved it.
That was a great day.
It was
We
a perfect
experienced
day.
everything that India is about. The people,
it was
the wildlife, the scenery was. Yeah, that day was one of our favourites, wasn't it?
Yeah. The next day, it was get up early because we wanted to kind of make up some time because we'd spent so long going through Maharashtra with those roads at the beginning. So someone had actually recommended to us to start a bit earlier, and we thought, well, we'll give it a shot. But getting the bike out, like I said before, was a nightmare.
Yeah, I think we got up about 5 a.m, which was nice because it was still cool in the morning. But there's been like scooters parked along a really narrow track already, and there was a river next to it.
And it was sand.
Yeah, it was quite sandy too, and so it was edging out, and I just went to put my foot down, and it was the only patch where there was like a big hole the same size as my foot.
I think I did say, like, watch that, but you couldn't have put your foot anywhere else anyway because it's just the way that you had to go, but never mind.
That was fine. We got out of there, and then we hit the road, and the roads were empty. The air was cool. So a lot of people recommended, if you've got some big kilometers to do in India, is to get up early in the morning and do them at like 5, 6 and 7 o'clock. You can get a good amount of kilometers done in those 3 hours before it gets busy and the heat starts coming in. That day we really experienced the diversity of India. We went from the beaches of Goa up into like the mountainous regions as we headed in to the direction of Korg, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was it. It was, I think, the most close calls we've had in a day ever.
Absolutely. The mountain road, which was amazing. Like the road surface was brilliant. There were so many twisties, but the big red buses kept on cutting.
And they're the local buses, aren't they?
The local buses, yeah. They like totally cut the corner. And I guess if you're expecting it, maybe you can preempt it somehow. I don't know. They're blind corners. But for us, we weren't expecting people to be on our side of the road head on with a bus, but we managed to get there in the end.
Yeah, at that point we've been in Goa, in India for like 4 or 5 days, so we were kind of getting used to things. But as we entered kind of a new state again, the drivers do change, and I felt they were so much more aggressive. They would come kind of behind you and then swing out and try and overtake you and then drive really slowly.
I don't understand where this overtaking culture comes from, because we could be going slow through a town because,
it's a town.
You're like trained to go slowly through towns where there are people, but then they would overtake you in the town, and then once you're out of the town and you have like the curves and stuff, they just slow right down again. You ended up overtaking them again, and it just became like this cat and mouse of like, really we'd slow down in the village, then we get overtaken, and then we'd overtake them again. But it made for a fun ride, that's for sure.
A fun ride, but it was dangerous at times. There were some really bad corners being cut, and we only caught a few of them on camera. I think that's the other thing that maybe you don't realise is obviously we can't film all 4 hours of the ride, so we had maybe had that experience 4, 5, 6 times and then caught one on camera, and that's the one that we show you. So frustration does tend to build, and you were surrounded by the most beautiful the Korg mountains were just the Ghats there,
they were spectacular,
just amazing. But again, it was a really long day as we headed towards, was it the Zostel in Cork?
Zostel, yeah, there was something like that, yeah.
And then it was the most traumatic night of my life.
Oh, you had the spider, didn't you? Yeah. But the ride to the hostel, though, was really cool. It was like a muddy track
I forgot about
down
that.
there, and it was coffee plantations either side. What that track must be like in the rain, though, I dread to think it must be really slippy.
Yeah.
But it was a great entrance to that hostel.
Yeah, but not a great experience in the hostel for me with the spider.
No, these giant tarantula. I think it was an Indian tarantula.
It was an Indian tarantula.
It was very close to your face, wasn't it? Because it went up the wall.
Yeah.
And you were right there.
I'm disappointed with how I reacted to that spider, and you can tell you it's real because we didn't even think to get the camera out. I was in that much of a panic. There was no other thought other than get the spider out of the room as quickly as possible. It was, never again. That was, not nice, but the hotel there, fantastic. 10 out of 10, absolutely gorgeous surroundings. And the next day we woke up, we got to walk around the coffee plantations, have fresh coffee.
Coffee was really good.
It was really good. And then we headed back on the road, and I can't remember towards where. We kind of took a Kalimoto route through these regions so we could really see some of the smaller roads, and mostly it was just us sharing them with the rickshaws, wasn't it?
Basically, yeah, it took us down, the route that we took was some really small like country lanes, tight and twisty, but it was nice because you could see all the coffee plantations. I think we passed a bridge over into one of the villages and we could see the river running
really
underneath.
nice.
It was beautiful.
And then we briefly crossed into Kerala that day. Now, the original plan was for us to spend a couple of weeks or like at least 10 days in Kerala. But at that point, we realised that we were not going to make it back up to Mumbai, and we had a meetup planned, so we had to make it back. So we decided that we would do Kerala on another tour and just do a tour of Kerala. So we briefly nipped in, headed it was a very short route through, didn't we, towards some of the national forests. And we stayed at the Raindrops Resort.
Yeah, that's right, we did, didn't we?
It was gorgeous, and managed the next morning to have a beautiful traditional breakfast, which again was one of my highlights.
Yeah, that was a great breakfast there. The food there was a little bit more coconut based, wasn't it? Which is a bit more friendly for us, especially for breakfast time, having the coconut dishes.
So the night before, we'd actually spent in Sultan Bathery, hadn't we? We had those banana chips.
Oh, yeah, the banana chips. I think they were my favourite, those.
They were. So we went from there back to the Raindrops Resort, and we also made our way through the Wayanad Wildlife Sanctuary, wasn't it?
Yeah, but we only saw monkeys through there.
Yeah,
we were looking out for other animals, but we like monkeys, but we hope to see some other things there too.
No elephants or tigers. And we also rode through the Bandipur Tiger Reserve. Again, no tigers, but lots and lots of monkeys. And then we headed towards, I think we were heading back north at that point, towards Madikeri, but we stopped and grabbed some pastries, which became like a favourite thing for us to do at that point. We kind of got into the swing of things.
Yeah. It seemed like there was always like a bakery along the route.
Yeah.
And they were in fresh, different pasties or like sweet things as well. They were great. I enjoyed them.
That day we were actually heading towards the UNESCO heritage site, the temple with all the intricate carvings.
That's one of the must-see things that we wanted to see. Was it the Keshava temple, I think it was? Yeah, that was a spectacular place.
A little bit of palaver getting in. None of our cards were still accepted, but we managed to get in after quite a bit of faff.
Yeah, you can't buy a physical ticket at the door. You have to buy it online. Another reason why you need internet in India is because a lot of these sites, you can't buy a ticket. You have to do it online, and you have to give your passport details. And then it wouldn't let us pay with our credit cards. I think I tried 6 of them, and eventually like the 7th one worked. So it's a good idea to have multiple options when traveling. But we got a ticket. You could pay cash though to take your cameras inside, which was strange that you could pay for that but not for your actual ticket.
So we paid for the cameras and headed on in, and it was truly worth it. It was spectacular, that place.
It was magnificent. The details in all of the carvings on the temple, then the inside of it as well was spectacular. You had those round columns, which I don't know how they managed to make those so perfectly with the tools that they had. But yeah, that was another real highlight.
Yeah. We also grabbed some sugarcane juice and some chips on the way out because we had a big ride to Mysore that night, and that was another amazing town that we went to.
Yeah.
Again, the ride through the city was crazy. Mania.
Yeah, we had those big like roundabouts with like 6 lanes connecting and people going
Free
all
for
which
all.
direction. But it was a really nice entrance to that city, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was really
super
cool.
clean, the lights everywhere, it had a really good atmosphere to it. So yeah, we went straight to the hotel there, but we had the plan to come back out again and go for a walk. But I think by the time we
were
got
exhausted.
showered, we decided to go to the restaurant in the hotel and get an early-ish night, wasn't it?
Yeah, and the next morning we arrived at the palace, which again is an absolute must-see in India. It is breathtakingly beautiful on the outside and on the inside.
Yeah.
So we paid the entrance fee to get in, which was I think £10 each, which for India is quite expensive.
Yeah, it is. That was, but a local rate is a lot less, which
Yeah.
is quite good that they make these places accessible
Yeah,
for the locals.
absolutely.
But the thing is, we didn't have that much time there because we got there early. We got the rickshaw in, but we didn't realise that it didn't open until 10 a.m. We had to check out of the hotel at midday. So fortunately, the hotel let us check out, I think, at 1 o'clock. I gave them a call and they gave us an extra hour or two. So that was enough
good.
to see the palace.
Yeah, I think 4 hours is just about enough time, and to see there is a few other temples dotted around and the gate as well, entrance that you can kind of see. And then we headed back on the road when we experienced our first rain.
Oh yeah, as soon as we left the hotel, it started spitting and yeah, it didn't stop. After about an hour or so of intermittent rain, it didn't rain too much to be honest, and it did bring the temperature down, which was actually quite refreshing, wasn't it? So we appreciated that. We came across a temple, we could see it from the roadside, so we decided to turn off. And I think it was one of the Stormy temples. There was like another big ceremonial pool there, wasn't there? And then just round there was these really steep steps that led up to the temple. It was quite a special sight, and I think it was quite an important place for many people though.
Yeah, it was kind of shocking because we're just riding and then there's just this amazing place that you've never heard of. I think in Europe that would have been like in the top 10 must-see things.
For sure, yeah.
It was beautiful, and everywhere in India has a different smell about it, and you could just smell the incense wafting into the helmet.
You could see it was all being burnt on the steps there.
Yeah.
You can actually ride or drive up to the top where the actual temple is. We did take a ride up there to have a closer look, but the people that were going there, they were all dressed nicely, so...
Didn't want to be disrespectful.
We didn't feel like it would be right for us to go traipsing in there with our boots and like
slightly damp
gear
suits.
on. So yeah, we left there, and we still had some kilometres to do that day, didn't we?
Yeah, it was quite a big day.
Yeah, and then I think just as we left that site, you could see on the horizon this really black, dark cloud setting in.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh no, this is gonna be bad. I was gonna stop to put the waterproofs on, but it just hit us instantly.
It came so quickly and out of nowhere.
And it was so intense that you were like wet instantly.
But we had a couple of instances where it just like 30 seconds had rained and we kind of got past the clouds.
Yeah.
So we were a bit like, well, it's just cooling us down. So maybe don't put the suits on just yet. But when it hit, oh my goodness, it hit. That rain was like needles hitting you. They were giant raindrops coming at you. And it was getting darker and darker, obviously because the day was going, but as well as the cloud was just getting darker and darker, losing daylight. And we did pull into a petrol station in the end. We put our waterproofs on, which I'm glad we did, because it did start raining the same amount in about half an hour's time. Yeah, it was on and off, intermittent, and then we hit that. I think it was coming up 6 o'clock, wasn't it? It got really intense.
And it was coming up to rush hour as well, so there was a lot of traffic on the road. I think it was one of the worst rides of the trip that night.
Yeah, it was.
Because it was dark, it was wet. Everyone rides and drives with their main beams on, so the dazzling from the lights is quite intense. And we somehow got in like wet sandwich between. There was a car in front of us with a bus and a truck and a lorry all going slow, and they were all trying to overtake each other. And then the bus behind us kept coming so close to our back wheel.
Like I could see his eye colour.
Yeah,
he was
that close. And it's really intimidating because it's like, you can't really pull away because then you're close to the vehicle in front. He's getting ever so like tight to your back
He's
wheel.
also impatient because they're beeping, because they want to overtake you, but you can see that there's no room. And like, it was petrifying.
It was not a nice position to be in, is it?
Because the road was so slippy. We'd seen the tyres of most of the vehicles over the past few days in the dry.
Yeah.
It wasn't like they all had good water tread on their tyres, because they're all used to driving in the dry anyway.
Yeah, so I really, and I couldn't really overtake either, because you just know as soon as you pull out to the right, the car in front would pull out, or the bus in front of him would pull out without checking what was behind you. So it really only left me with one option, and that was to go on the left side, which is not something I wanted to do, but there was like good road surface there. There was plenty of space. So I thought the best solution of the two evils was to nip up the left side and pretty much undertake the car and the bus and the lorry in a few seconds, which it turned out well. And to be honest, I think it was the best thing to do than to wait there and be sandwiched in with those.
And the whole time that we'd been kind of going through this, like being squished, I was checking my phone to see if there was hotels. Like we did not want to be on the road. We were doing everything we could to get off the road and find a hotel, but we were in a dead zone.
There was no hotels there or anything. Yeah.
So we were trying our absolute best to kind of get to the destination. I managed to find a hotel that wasn't too far away from where we wanted to be. But again, by the time that we turned the cameras on, the bus behind us had already nearly hit us 3 times by the time we thought, like, let's put the camera on to video this, because it was maybe 2 hours we had of that intense ride. And you probably saw 5 minutes of it. And we were both done, I think, at the end of that. Like we both had enough of the being squished between 2 massive vehicles. And then we saw the city lights.
Yeah, finally got into the city, pulled up to the hotel. It was still raining heavy. Got into the room, got everything hung up, rinsed some stuff in the shower.
It was filthy, the panniers were filthy.
But they said they had a restaurant up on the top floor. And wow, what a great restaurant it was.
Chips. Warm chips.
We actually checked like TripAdvisor for where the best restaurant was, and it was recommending the one that was in this random hotel we picked. And we instantly ordered chips. Yeah. And then we had the lentil curry, the spinach curry.
And we had a biryani and loads of rotis, and we were feeling very good after that.
The food
made up for it.
Was fantastic. It seems like wherever you go and there's a restaurant, they all cook fantastic food.
And it was made to order. We could see them making it. It was really fresh. So that day wasn't great, but it ended fantastically. And again, we couldn't have done anything differently. We just got caught in a situation. Yeah, exactly. If we'd have not stopped to put the waterproofs on, we probably would have had 30 minutes left, but it would have been wet. But
some people were saying, why didn't you wait out the storm in the bus station? But if we'd done that, we would have got even later. So I think, we did the best we could that day, and it turned out really well.
The next morning we headed to Chitradurga Fort, which was high on my places to see in India, and it didn't disappoint either. That place was awesome.
Yeah, I think that dates back from the 17th century, and it's built like in its natural rock fortress.
Yeah, really cool.
Was it like 7 walls within a wall, so it was almost impregnable. It was really impressive.
And there was tiny chipmunks everywhere.
There were, weren't they? And they call them squirrels in India. Yeah. But we call them chipmunks, don't we? Yeah. But they were literally everywhere, and you could hear them wherever you went. But the biggest treat of that area was at the top where there's a temple. Yeah. And it's like, it has like the trees that have grown into it over the centuries. Yeah, it was a really special place, wasn't it? Yeah,
it was so nice to be able to just walk around these places, and they were really quiet. Comparatively with where we were in Mumbai and in Goa, it was very busy. Where we were here, it was empty. There was 1 or 2 other people there. And a lot of people were actively worshipping there, so we were trying to be quite respectful and not get in the way of anyone. So we kind of stepped back quite a few times when things were happening because everyone was actively worshipping there and we didn't want to be disrespectful at all. And then after we'd finished at Chitradurga, we headed on the road towards the highlight of the trip, Hampi.
Yeah, Hampi was kind of like the driving point for the route, wasn't
Yeah.
it? And the reason we decided to cut certain bits short was so we could at least make sure we got to Hampi. And yeah, the ride to Hampi was pretty
great.
plain. It was
the
just
highway,
motorway, wasn't
yeah.
it? Yeah, a new motorway that had been put in. We were on it for about 40 minutes. We did some good kilometres.
Yeah, great road conditions all the way to Hampi. And then you arrive and the road literally takes you through a monument.
Yeah.
And then you look to the left and there's this ancient temple, and you look to the right and there's another ancient temple. It's mind-blowing. The scale of Hampi is, you kind of have to be there.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be like one site, but it was just the whole area, the whole expanse has got lots and lots of things to see. But we hadn't booked anything, and it was actually hard to find a hotel there because there wasn't that much availability.
There's a lot of homestays,
Yeah.
but not many big hotels, which again is nice. And I think the hotel that we stayed at is ran by the government, someone was mentioning. It was an okay hotel, it was perfectly fine. We went there and then we were headed straight out, and it was just about sunset, and I get like emotional even thinking about this night at Hampi. It was amazing. So we headed in first to the first kind of section right by the road, didn't we? And we walked up to Sunset Point.
Yeah. The monkeys were everywhere.
Yeah, the monkeys were. It's the view that you can see in your mind, isn't it? It's hard to explain it, but you've got that temple, and then you've
got the steps up the rocks, and then you walk up the rocks, and then you can see the temples down below, which is, they're like revealed to you in the most beautiful way, wasn't it?
Yeah,
It was
there's
really special.
so many intricate carvings, and I think you could probably spend a year just in Hampi if you wanted to see all of the sites. There's something like over 4,000 or so monuments and different sites that you can see. We barely scratched the surface, but we actually headed down into the temple. We were actually looking for the chariot, which was in a different site, but I'm so glad we went in because that was the night that we got to meet the most wonderful family. And we spent the night in the temple. It was a special night. They were doing some kind of art on the floor with like
offerings of fruit, of sweet. I think sweet things is what is important.
And then fires, and the smell, the heat, the intensity, the buzz, the vibe, if you want to say.
The best thing that happened was there was a power cut.
Oh, yeah.
Because they had some lights on inside the temple because it was dark, but then there was a power cut for about 20 minutes, and the whole place was just lit by candlelight. And
it was amazing.
I'd say it was one of the best experiences we've ever had. It was
a bit
really
surreal.
Special. Yeah.
It really was. And then, we wandered back to our hotel in the darkness.
Then it rained on us. It rained on us.
Again.
We jumped back on the bike and we went back to the hotel.
Yeah, and then the next day we spent the morning in Hampi. I was the sickest I've ever been in India that morning. I was really struggling. That day.
Yeah, you weren't good, were you?
I was not okay.
We went to the Vairupshka temple or something. I think it was Pakasha temple.
We went to see the chariot, didn't we?
Where the chariot
that
was,
the main thing. It's on that 50 rupee note. And it's about 1.5 kilometre walk. Again, we had a little bit of problem getting tickets, but nothing too dramatic. We had to ask 4 times, didn't we? And then we had a 1.5 kilometre walk in the heat. I wouldn't recommend you do it. It wasn't too warm that day. I would say it was like 25, but it wasn't too bad. And then we got to explore that site. Just beautiful, perfectly preserved. Everyone was very respectful in there. And we had a great time.
We did. It was fantastic. I think you could easily have 3, 4, 5, or even a week in Hampi if that's something you're really interested in, because there's no shortage of things to see there.
After Hampi, we decided we wanted to head towards Goa again, so we decided to cut across towards the coast. It was a nice ride.
Yeah, it was okay, wasn't it? There was a few roads being rebuilt, which made for some quite fun rides. There was some locals selling, well, at the time we thought they were selling milk, which was a bit strange, but it was like this white liquid in these bottles.
It looked like milk.
It did look like milk, but it turns out it was like an alcoholic type drink made from tree sap. So actually wish I'd tried that. It must be quite interesting drink. Maybe not from the side of the road, but maybe from a restaurant or something. It might have been good to try that.
Yeah, people were buying it, pulling over and buying it. Yeah. So they wouldn't be there unless everyone was.
I hope they weren't drinking it while they were driving. Maybe they were. It would explain a lot, couldn't it? But the road into Goa got beautiful again. Yeah. It's almost like we crossed into Goa and then they had this twisty Ghat road which took us through the rainforest, and yeah, it was nice to be back in Goa again. And we decided that we were going to have 2 nights there for a change. This was the first time we'd had 2 nights anywhere.
So this was the Carvela Beach Resort. It was absolutely stunning, a gorgeous place. It had its own beach, and we spent the next day drinking iced coffee on the beach and generally relaxing. It was really nice to kind of have that Goa experience.
It was, wasn't it? Because I think a lot of people, when they visit India or Goa, they have a lot of downtime where you can relax, you can cool down from the heat. But for us, the last 10 days had been very intensive, like long days on the road, always moving, not much sleep time, and then interrupted eating patterns. So yeah, to experience that sort of stay, it was really nice, and a much needed rest as well, I'd say.
You can see why people say like go to Goa and go and experience that, because it was fantastic. But as you said, with us going back and forth from different states, different hotels every night, the water was changing, the food was changing, and it was constantly, your body was being messed up. In fact, some people even told us while we were in India that they bring their own bottled water from their state because they don't want to get sick. And we were a bit kind of shocked at that. It's not something we've had to think about, but obviously it is. It's quite an important thing to be aware of: is the food, is the water, and the heat. And we had no consistency for the 2 weeks.
It was changing far too quickly.
Yeah, so we had 2 nights there, and then the next day we decided to head towards where we were heading. We're heading north, basically towards Mumbai after that.
The quickest way to head north was to jump on the highway, and they had a newly built one there. And at one point, I didn't even know if we were supposed to be on it or not, because there was nobody else on it, and the guy was like waving at us, and we had to use the wrong side of the motorway. But it was a beautiful road, black tarmac. The guy was painting the yellow strips, and we made some good progress on that road.
Yeah, we headed back through
Panji, wasn't it?
Panji, yeah, it was, as we headed up north, and then we arrived back in Maharashtra, which was a tough ride for me.
Yeah, this was the road where Em lost it a little bit with a rickshaw driver.
I don't lose it very often.
but this time you did. We're going through this lovely village. It was like a village with these hairpins all the way up it. The road was really bad. There was some huge potholes to the left of us. And there was 2 bikes ahead of us that were slowing down for this blind corner. So we did
really
the same.
Sharp blind corner.
Yeah, you couldn't see a thing. It was like a 90-degree turn. And then all of a sudden, this rickshaw driver decides to force his way past us.
But he'd already done it 2 times before we'd put the camera on.
Yeah.
So he'd already got really close, and I'd put my hand out to tell him like to back off.
Yeah. And it's not like we were slowing him down, because we were going the same speed as the traffic in front of us.
I'd just had enough.
And yeah, he went to force his way past. We're not going to like go off into these huge holes and off the side of the road. And yeah, Em lost it with him and pushed him with his hand.
I have no regrets.
But he backed off straight away, which was
good.
He
apologised. He was like, sorry, but I have no regrets.
I think he had auto overtake mode on.
I think he did. But sorry to interrupt you, but it's hard to see from the camera how close they get to my leg and to your leg and to the pannier. Yeah. It's unbelievably close. It's literally 10 centimetres sometimes, and they're going over rocks, and you can't control.
Yeah, exactly.
They're so close, and I had a bad back that day because of the already bad roads. I wasn't feeling very well, and I did. It was my first road rage.
And we caught it on camera.
Well, I don't think it was road rage. I put my hand up and I told him to stop, but it was the accumulation of 3 weeks of nearly being hit.
I think so, yeah.
That I'd just had enough of, and it's so close.
Yeah, and people say, just let him pass, but it's not a case of just letting someone pass, because they are actually putting you in danger. And we weren't holding him up, because as soon as we went around the next corner, it was really steep hill.
It was you in
and
that
couldn't keep up.
650
Royal Enfield 650 GT, I think it was. Really fast bike.
It's really cool.
A guy on there, he must have known those roads so well. He
had a route.
flying up there. That was quite fun actually to ride with him for a little bit.
And you knew as soon as, if he had got past us, that rickshaw, he would have held us up for the next 20 kilometres.
Exactly,
so it was, my apologies
to the rickshaw
driver, but I would do it again. I have no regrets.
But after that, there was one of those beautiful sunset rides, wasn't it? We rode through some really small villages. There were some fishing villages, and then we were up in the countryside, and the sun was going down, and it was beautiful. And then we dropped down into the sea level, and the hotel we booked was basically there, wasn't it? Just as it was going dark.
The kind of creepy 1960s hotel that we stayed in with the giant room, and we went straight to bed that night. We didn't even eat anything. I think you had some porridge and we went to bed. To wake up the next day to do kind of our final 2 rides towards Mumbai. We had a gorgeous ride through Maharashtra, just south of Mumbai, where we saw that. I don't think it was a fox, or it was something.
I thought it was like a jackal or something. Someone did say in the comments what they thought it was, but it looked like something like a fox or a jackal ran across the road. And then there was loads of monkeys after that, big ones, small ones.
The one in the bus stop was
stop was funny. It was quite comical the way we were sitting there.
And then we magically somehow came out and we were near the Rock Hill Resort again, which was such a coincidence.
Yeah, we had thought maybe we could make it back to Mumbai that day, but it was just, again, the distances were not long, but it was taking a long time. So, we didn't want to arrive back into Mumbai at like midnight. But
it might have been better to arrive at night than it was the next day.
So we stayed in the Rock Hill again.
Yeah, it was great. I would highly recommend that hotel to anybody. It was super clean. I was very impressed with the cleanliness of it. And then the next day we made the final ride to Mumbai, which was, I think, 120 kilometres, and it took us
like 5 hours?
6 hours.
Like that. A lot of that was spent in like standstill traffic, because I think I missed a few exits in the city, or there was roads that you can't go on as a bike, and it's like, I can't really read the road signs. And we got stuck in like back-to-back traffic where you couldn't even walk through as a pedestrian. It was so tightly packed, let alone get your bike through there.
It was so chaotic to be back, and it was quite a hot day as well, and we were just sat there in the black motorcycle suits with a black helmet on, baking in the sun, in the traffic, until we arrived at a gorgeous hotel for them to tell us that we couldn't pull a bike outside the front.
Yeah, we were treated like, I don't know, criminals when we pulled up there. We just wanted to drive to the front of the hotel, take the bags off, check in, and then park the bike. But they were like adamant that you couldn't have a motorbike outside the front of the hotel. And I mean, there was like rickshaws pulling up and stuff. So I don't know what the problem was.
I think it was just a bike
But
problem.
eventually the manager came out, and then they were really nice.
You were very apologetic about the situation. I think it was a blanket no motorcycles at the front.
I'm guessing they'd been told that's their policy, so they weren't doing their job. But it was really funny though, because to find the parking from the front, one of the guys jumped on the back of the bike, and I took him as a pillion to the parking place while you checked in, which was hilarious. It was funny.
I went to check us in, and the manager was there from the hotel, who was, as I say, quite apologetic about the stuff that had happened outside. And he also saw that we are hotel member, like VIP card members.
But yeah, with hotel.com, if you book, I think, more than 10 hotels a year or something.
Yeah, I think 10 is like
10 or
silver,
15.
and then 15 is gold. Anyway, we book so many hotels because we travel most of the year.
They don't have to be expensive hotels. You can book like €20 hotels, and they count towards your membership. So yeah, we were gold members at that point. So we got an upgrade because of being gold members on hotels.com. And then because of all of like the shenanigans of pulling up, they upgraded us again. And then we ended up in a suite.
Corner suite we had. It was amazing.
I remember seeing that when we booked it, and it was literally
so expensive.
Yeah. So we booked the very basic one, but we ended up in the suite, and it was amazing.
Yeah, getting in, making that coffee.
Oh yeah.
Kind of a reward for a job well done of what it was an incredible but very intense tour of India.
Absolutely, yeah.
It was the perfect kind of end. And then that night we went out to celebrate. We took a nighttime rickshaw towards Juhu Beach, and we went to a gorgeous, gorgeous restaurant. I had sushi, you had a big butter bowl full of rice and beans, and then we headed out onto the beach and we walked along Juhu Beach past Stomach House, which is still a highlight for me.
Restaurant, yeah, we were playing it safe with the food that night because we had the flight the next day, so
we still had one more day in Mumbai.
Oh, did we have another flight?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, we had another day.
That was the night that we were still playing it safe though. For the second half of the tour, we were kind of playing it safe after some of the experiences we'd had, let's say. But that night was really nice because we walked through the market at night, the food store.
Yes, the street food market.
And then we took a rickshaw back to the hotel. The next day we had our meetup at BMW, which was so busy that we didn't get the GoPro or the DJI camera out because it was...
Sometimes it's just nice to talk to people. We had a few comments, people saying you need to interact with people more, but to be honest, when you interact with people, it's a different experience to when you're holding a camera in their face, and it's just nice to have those interactions to yourself.
Yeah, it's not our style to kind of force interactions with people anyway, but that night was so personal with the people that came, and we had all of the BMW team there, and just such a nice experience that we forgot to kind of pick up our phones or pick up our cameras. The photos and the videos you saw were taken by the BMW team, which was really nice to have them as a memory, to be honest, because we kind of forgot. But we definitely want to do more of those meetups in the future.
Yeah, there was lots of fun.
It really was a lot of fun. And we handed back Blaze, which was really sad because, man, that bike performed. It was our first time on a GS.
Than the standard GS, it was. It was a great bike. I was thinking, is it too big for India? Because everyone's saying you should have a 300cc or a smaller bike. But I have to say, I have no doubt that is the bike I would want to be on again. It had the power to get you out of dangerous situations. It took every bump, every road surface. You could switch the riding modes and plenty of space for our luggage. But we're very familiar with that bike ourselves, so we're really glad to have had that one. Yeah,
we did consider taking a Royal Enfield. That was something we considered, and I'm kind of glad that we went with the BMW in the end because, it felt like home.
Yeah, it did.
Even though everything around us was so different, the bike still sounded the same, and it just felt right. So after we had the BMW meetup, the next day we had our last day in Mumbai, where we went and got the best coffee in all of Mumbai.
Yes, yeah.
That was top 5 coffees I've ever had. Definitely. That was amazing. And we walked through Bandra and Juhu, just a really nice, relaxing day. And then we headed back to the Gateway of Mumbai in the evening.
Gateway of
India, and then we went over to the Taj Hotel.
Oh yeah, just to see how the other half live.
Yeah, that hotel is €1,000 a night. It was really expensive.
But it was spectacular, wasn't it? What Beautiful. A place.
With quite a troubled history as well. So it was nice to kind of wander through, and then we couldn't get a rickshaw where we were. We had to walk all the way through the city at night, which again, I wouldn't recommend, but it was fine in this instant, to a hotel to have our final meal before heading out to the airport the next day. Yeah,
that's right, wasn't it? We got to the airport really early. We had planned to go to a lounge or something and just relax there for a few hours. But I didn't realise in Mumbai airport, you're not allowed to go into security
3 hours.
Before, is it 2? It was 2 hours, I think.
Before.
2 hours before your flight. So we had 3 hours to kill at the airport, outside of the airport, but still inside because there's a pre-security check where you can't go back out. They did have they called it a lounge.
It wasn't a lounge.
But it was some seats, wasn't it? So we ended up having to pay €20 to go and sit in there for 3 hours.
And then you're kind of in a rush because then you've only got 2 hours to get to your gate. So we rushed through security, and then we had to have the exit check with your passport and make sure your visas are okay. And then we were boarding the flight at night. So we got on in the evening, tried to sleep on the plane, but at 6 foot, over 6 foot tall, you never sleep on a plane.
Didn't get much sleep that night.
And then we were arriving in Zurich, and they said, oh, like breakfast is coming. And what did they give us for breakfast?
There was a curry pasty breakfast.
Which I could not stomach. I don't think either of us could stomach.
No, I think we left at that point.
And we landed in Zurich at, I think, 7 o'clock in the morning, and it was 2 degrees. 2 degrees.
Yeah, there was snow everywhere, so we had a complete contrast to what we've had for the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, we came from 35 degrees to 2 degrees, and now we are back home here in Switzerland.
So in conclusion, a motorcycle tour of India is an unforgettable experience. You'll really challenge you, I think, both physically and mentally.
Yeah, it challenged us a lot in ways that we kind of didn't expect. Things that were easy for us to do here in Europe was so hard to do in India. Things like supermarkets, finding food and finding water, they can be really difficult there. So it's a completely different experience, and one that we both really wanted to have. We wanted that challenge.
Yeah. And then on the other side, the feeling of freedom that you get in India is amazing. Just to be able to go off, and like very few things you have to worry about, in the sense of, you're not checking your speed, you're not worrying that you're in the wrong lane, or
no speed cameras, or
I think you just need to chill out, relax, and take things a lot more slower, I think, and I think that's the trick, isn't it, to riding in India.
Our tour of India, as we say, was incredible and fantastic. And if you are thinking of doing one yourself, our biggest tips would be to take it easy, to make sure you have enough hydration, and follow your own path throughout it. Every India tour is going to be different. What you want to experience in India, you can find that. If you want crazy off-road routes, you can find them. If you want serenity at the beach, you can have that. If you want amazing highways, you can have that. If you want complete adventure, you can have that. It's such a diverse continent.
Yeah, you're right there. And as you say, to just relax and go slow is definitely the way. The traffic kind of moves like a river flowing, and when you go slow, it gives people time to react to what you're doing. It gives you time to react to what they're doing. And it's we only had 3 weeks available to us, didn't we?
Yeah.
And we did want to see as much as we possibly could of India. It was like a taste of India trip for us to, explore the beaches, to see the mountains, go to the coffee plantations, experience the big cities. So I think if we were to go back again, we might sort of like hone in on an area that we want to spend more time in.
Yeah.
Maybe like, for example, Kerala, we didn't spend much time there. So if we were to go back, maybe we'd take that time just to maybe a slower trip around a specific area. Yeah,
maybe Kerala or Ladakh, as everybody has recommended.
Yeah.
But as you said, Sean, I think it's a taste of India, what we've seen. There's so much more to explore. But for us, we're actually heading to Spain next.
Yeah, that's right. We have an off-road training planned. It's an enduro training in a park, and then I think 3 days of tracks and trails throughout southern Spain as well, to put what we learn on the in the park onto like real life situations. So it's going to be amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be a great few days, but I think we both want to say thank you to everyone who's watched as ever, and for all of the comments and the likes and the shares. This tour has been incredible on engagement for us. I think we've collectively replied to
thousands, maybe tens of thousands of comments, but it's been really nice to hear from everyone, and all of the nice suggestions from the local people there. I think one thing that struck us is the kindness of the people of India. We had so many invitations to dinner and to show us around the villages and things.
And the pride. Everybody is very proud of where they come from, which is refreshing to have. People are genuinely proud of the state or the town that they come from, and they want to show it and highlight the beauty of it. And that's a really beautiful part of the culture in India that we did get to experience. And
yeah, we did. We met many nice people along the way.
So many.
And I think if we were making these videos live, as in we were making them while we were there, we probably would have taken a lot of people up on their kind invitations and gone to see a bit of their town with them. It would have been a nice experience.
Yeah.
But so we got to unpack now, do some washing, and then repack for Spain, which is just going to be in about 5 days' time, I think, isn't it?
It's a very quick turnaround, this one, but it's only a mini series, so there'll be around 3 or 4 episodes, and we'll see you then.
Yeah, so join us in the next episode as we make our way to Andalusia, Spain, to prepare for some upcoming trips this year.
Cup of tea?
Yeah, I think so.